Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be doing a quick little, not even a quick one, this is going to be pretty in-depth, a camera comparison between the iPhone SE2, the newly released iPhone SE 2020, versus the iPhone 6s, with its 12 megapixel sensor. They actually have two, 12 megapixel sensors on both. So we're going to be doing, just a camera comparison here. If you want a full in-depth one, I've already done one, and I'll leave that link down below. I will be dropping a full speed comparison as well at some point. So as well as, if you want to pick up both of these phones, links will be down in the description if you want to. Now, one of the biggest advantages with the iPhone SE 2020 would definitely be that new Apple A13 chip and the new, camera features and camera optimizations that chipset brings. But between both, there's a couple differences as well. You do have portrait mode on the iPhone SE 2020, but on top of that, you also have the option of doing 4K at 60 on the SE2, where you can only do 4K at 30 on the 6S, which is still good enough, I think, for a lot of people. But that's really the main differences between both of these phones for sure with that back camera. Now, I'll go ahead and show you the photos, but one thing to keep in mind, all iPhone SE2 photos will be on the right, iPhone 6s photos will be on the left, and the way I took these photos is very important as well. I took them one after the other, literally like 10 seconds probably within each other, so they're almost in the same lighting condition and everything. And on top of that, I let the photos autofocus on whatever they want to. I let it sit on the object for a second, and then whatever it autofocused on, I took the picture. So I didn't go and tap the focus or anything like that. So looking at this first photo again, SE2 photos here, 6s photos here, you can automatically see some pretty big differences. And one thing that I've been saying is that with the iPhone SE2, it does a really good job at brightening up those photos, which is really cool. So even if you look at this top part right here, you can see that, man, there are some pretty big differences already. The iPhone 6s, does kind of overexpose in some parts. The iPhone SE2 did a really good job in not doing that. So with this photo, with this particular portion, you can see, this SE2, you can see a lot more detail, whereas on the 6s, not so much. And even looking on the background, you can see it even brightened up the background of this photo, which is really cool. On the background of this photo, it doesn't look that bad, but it doesn't look that great either. And another thing I want to note is if you kind of zoom into like this specific portion, doesn't really matter, they're all the same, you can kind of see the edge on the SE2 photo, in my opinion, looks a little bit sharper versus the 6S photo. If I look at right here, you can see it looks like a little bit more fuzzier to me. Even this background looks a little bit more fuzzier, and not in a good way. So for sure, at the end of the day, I'll give the edge to the SE2 for sure. Now this next photo was another one that was taken in really bad lighting, and if these photos look familiar, it's because I took all these photos within seconds of each other for the 11 Pro, 7, 11, all those photos that I had yesterday and the day before. And with this photo, again, you'll see that even though, they were taking the same lighting condition and everything, I think the SE2 did a better job on this specific photo. Noise-wise, though, this is kind of surprising. Maybe there's more noise on the SE2 phone. Actually, I don't know. This one is pretty tough to tell. I don't really think there's a big difference. There does seem to be two different colors of the background though, but one important thing to note again is that with the overexposure with the 6s, this is a little overexposed right here. It seems to be a lot more light coming on here, whereas on the SE2, not so much. It did a really good job at kind of breaking down and not, overexposing it. This bottom portion looks almost the same. This part looks a little bit blurred out though, whereas on the SE2, it kind of kept that whole entire portion in, which is really surprising. I've never seen that before on one of the phones, but that really pretty much covers this photo. Again, I don't know which one is the clear winner for the background coloring, but definitely when it comes down to this specific portion, the SE2 definitely won. Now with this photo, again, this is one interesting one because like I said before, I let the photo autofocus wherever it needed to. And with a lot of my photos that I took before on all the other phones, it seems to be autofocus on this specific part, and I don't really understand why. With the SE2, it really focused on there, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on. But the other thing is it seemed like all these phones focused on this specific part. So as you can see on the SE2, it kind of blurred that out because it was focusing on this portion. 6S kept that in focus because, it was focusing on here, but it blurred out this portion, even though I wanted it to kind of focus in on here, and it should have focused on here. But again, it is what it is. With this photo, I don't really see like crazy differences. Definitely the SE2 looks better because it is a little bit brighter. If you look at like this specific bottom portion, again, this leaf seems to even be more in focus than this leaf. So it's supposed to be, I wanted this blurred out. So the SE2, I think, did a better job of what I wanted to do. The 6S photo doesn't look that bad either. And from bird's eye view, you can't really tell. But even if you look at the background here, you can see it's a lot more blurred out on the 6S or on the SE2 for sure. And this next photo is one of outside. And again, I've shown this type of photo over and over again. And even though this is a little bit off center, if I kind of go ahead and zoom in, you can kind of start to see that, in my opinion, dude, the colors just look so much better on the SE2. There seems to be a lot of filtering going on, not a lot of filtering, but just a good amount to kind of showcase, like, to kind of pop out the colors a little bit, which is really nice. The 6S, I think is okay, but it looks very bland. And I like doing this. I like zooming into this specific part down here. And you can see how, kind of out of focus and how blurry this specific, object looks, where the background kind of looks more in focus than this one, which it should be the opposite. This photo is actually, focused on this part, but it blurred out the background, which is really important. And if I go ahead and zoom into like the edge of this thing, again, I've shown this in other photos too, this part seems to be more in focus than this part, and this part seems to be more noisier and everything than this one. So for sure, at the end of the day, the SE2 definitely won this photo. I think it's pretty easy to tell. Now this is another outdoor photo. Now from a bird's eye view, it almost kind of looks like the 6S photo looks a little bit better just because it is brighter. But once you start kind of looking at it a little bit longer, you can kind of see like, okay, yeah, there's a couple things where the SE2 does look like the better photo. And it really comes down to the background. So if I look at right here, right, you can see the grass and all the twigs and everything. If you look at over here, I mean, dude, this one looks a lot more blurred out, whereas on the subject is a lot more focused in, which is pretty much exactly what I wanted. I wanted this specific thing to be in focus, but I wanted the background to be out of focus. And that's pretty much what the 6S does. It focuses in on the specific object, but it doesn't blur out the background, which, it's kind of like doing one good thing and then one bad thing. This SE2 does a really good job of focusing in on the subject, but also blurring out the background. So for sure, the SE2 definitely won here. Now this is another one of the cement block, and usually with the other photos I've been looking at, I was like, the 6S or the older phones look better than this one, but this one I think definitely the SE2 looks better than the 6S. If you kind of look in, I mean, I don't even have to zoom in for you guys to see it, but the brightness and everything, I like that kind of a darker and sharper photo sometimes, but not when it, you start to, miss out on some really cool details and everything. If you kind of zoom into like this specific portion of those specific rocks, you'll see how kind of a little bit blurry and a little bit out of touch, it looks on the 6S, it looks a little bit weird, whereas on the iPhone SE2, I think it did an overall better job at kind of managing all that and making it look a little bit better. And even though it's a little bit brighter, it looks better in my opinion. But even though I like a darker, sharper photo sometimes, I think the SE2 looks better here a little bit. Now this is another photo of like, I always say there's a lot going on. And actually from first hand, it kind of looks like the 6S has more of like a cinematic view to it, whereas on the SE2 looks a little bit brighter. So some people might prefer this one, some people might prefer this one. I think a majority of people will probably end up choosing this one just because it is the brighter photo. If I go and zoom into like this specific portion, really not too many things going on. It seems like, I don't know, like the darkness I kind of like, but also I kind of like this one, so I don't know which one. It seems like there seems to be a lot of over brightness kind of going on, and I was in direct sunlight too, if I kind of zoom in. But one thing that I saw yesterday, and I'll probably be able to show you guys again today, is if I go ahead and look this portion right here. So right there on this specific leaf. So on some phones it really overexposed it, but on this one it didn't. So actually the iPhone 6S I think might have done a better job on this specific photo, which is really surprising. Now this was supposed to be a portrait mode, but the iPhone 6S does not support portrait mode, and the iPhone SE2 does not support portrait mode on animals. So this is just like a standard photo, it's just whatever. And the 6S surprised me too because it didn't overexpose the top of his head. On some other phones it did, but the 6S did a pretty decent job at it, which was really surprising. The SE2 still looks a little bit better, looks a little bit sharper, and even if you look at the background, you can kind of see like a little bit more grains and stuff. So I think the SE2 did a really good job in this photo, and I think it's better than the iPhone 6S, but still it's not like a really bad photo on the 6S. So the 6S honestly is pretty surprising to me at how good this camera is. Even though it's not as good as the SE2, it's still a pretty good camera. Now this is the last photo before I get into the video comparison, and again, like you can probably see a pretty big difference in indoor photos. The iPhone 6S, it's definitely a darker photo, and I can't even tell, from here where the photo started and where it ended, and now I can kind of tell when I zoom out. But definitely you can see, I mean, if we zoom into this portion, you can see if you're taking this type of photo indoors, you're going to be getting much better lighting when it comes down to the photos and videos on the iPhone SE2 than on something like the iPhone 6S. The 6S photo, is pretty much what you expect. I remember taking these type of photos for so long, But if I kind of take it up a notch, maybe the SE2 will, be the better camera. So for sure, indoor photos, I think you're going to see pretty big differences between the SE2 and the 6S. Outdoor photos, you're also going to be seeing some differences, but I think overall there's some pretty big, improvements when you're going from an iPhone 6S camera to an iPhone SE 2020 camera. Now that covers up all those photos. Let me go and hit on the videos, and this is the video that I took, and it's pretty much the same exact thing, outdoor video, nothing too insane. And I wasn't really able to see too many differences. There were cases where I thought the iPhone SE2 video was better. There were times that I thought the iPhone 6S video was better. But one thing that probably stood out to me the most was probably the background when it comes down to the bricks and the dirt and concrete on the bottom. It's probably when it comes down to all that stuff, because every time that I see that, it seems more blurred out on the iPhone SE 2020 and then it does on the iPhone 6S. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be, upgrading their camera just based off that, so I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but that is something to note at the end of the day. So in terms of video comparison, I'll probably give it to the iPhone SE2, but me personally, I really couldn't find too many differences, to be honest. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video and to answer the question, which camera is better and all that stuff, like obviously the iPhone SE2 is a better camera, but surprisingly it's not as great as I thought it was going to be. It's definitely good, but it's not like a killer like that I thought it was going to be. So if the iPhone SE 2020 camera was a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, based off everything that I just tested, and I tested these cameras as you guys saw, I took all these photos and looked at them, I would probably say the iPhone 6S is like an 8 out of 10. The SE2 and the 6S had the same wide angle lens, they don't have any telephoto or ultra wide sensors or anything like that. Now obviously the SE2's lens is better, still the 6S camera can still do a lot, and if you just like kind of messed around with the exposure and stuff in the stock Apple camera editor, like you could probably get through a lot and make these photos look so much better in my opinion. So in my opinion, yes, the SE2 camera is better, but if you still have the 6S camera, I don't really think you're missing out on too much in my opinion. So that really pretty much covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well, my Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.